No. Please let me out. I want out.
Only one way out. You either survive the night or become a part of it.
Please let me out.
Hi there. Today we're going to explore the plot of the 2025 film Until Dawn. A group of friends spends the night in an abandoned house in the forest, where a mysterious masked maniac begins to hunt them. Very soon, they realize they've become trapped in a time loop, and every night, new monsters come for them. The film opens with a frightened girl in a cramped underground tunnel. She struggles to dig her way to the surface. Someone tries to stop her, but she kicks them away. She manages to escape from underground, only to be met on the surface by someone in a mask, holding a heavy tool. The girl begs for mercy, saying she's tired of dying over and over again, but the masked pursuer ends her suffering with a single strike. The story then shifts to a group of friends in a car. They're following the trail of Melanie, Clover's sister, who disappeared a year ago. After their mother's death, Melanie went on a journey and occasionally sent videos from different locations, but then she stopped making contact. Hoping to make peace with her disappearance, Clover and her friends decide to follow the same route. They arrive at a rural gas station in Hartley, the last place where Melanie was seen. It's the same location where she was killed after escaping the tunnel. Megan, who believes she has psychic abilities, suggests they hold hands to feel the energy of the place. The others don't believe in the supernatural, but they go through with the ritual anyway. In the shop, Clover asks the clerk, named Hill, if he's seen her sister. The man says that people go missing around here all the time, especially in Glorville. After that, the group drives on, but gets caught in a heavy downpour. Due to Clover's fear of storms and poor visibility, the driver Abe is relieved when the car hits a dry patch, but the place looks suspicious. A quaint pastoral guest house stands by the road with an old grave on the lawn, and the storm seems to be avoiding the area entirely, as if it's under a dome. Deciding it's better to stay here than to keep driving through the rain, the group enters the house. Clover, captivated by the wall of rain outside, approaches the edge. It seems to her that she hears her sister's voice calling from within the watery curtain. Max, Clover's ex-boyfriend, follows her. Inside, time seems to have stopped. Everything looks the way it did 20 years ago. The calendar on the wall still shows a date from the previous millennium. Nina notices an unusual hourglass and a guest book, in which she jokingly writes her name. Her boyfriend, filming everything on his phone, finds a display board that resembles a missing persons wall, filled with photographs. There's no police in this area, which means the missing are not being looked for. Among the photos, there's one of Melanie. Meanwhile, the sun sets. Max pulls Clover away from the rain she's become tangled in. Nina flips through the guest book and finds Melanie's name, written over a dozen times. Each signature grows fainter. It turns out the guest house is located at the entrance to Glorville. Now they have proof Melanie vanished here. Nina notices the hourglass has been flipped. Sand is slowly running out, counting down to something. The car has been moved back into the rain. Realizing someone unknown with bad intentions was behind the wheel, the group decides to stay inside the house. As expected, there's no phone signal. They split up to look for a landline. Clover, Megan, and Max head to the basement, which is far too tidy for an abandoned home. There are even windows and doors. They find a phone, which doesn't work, and a walkie-talkie. While Abe is away, Nina hears a suspicious noise. She goes to check and encounters a masked figure, the maniac, who has pinned the boy to the wall. At her scream, the others rush up from the basement and see the aftermath of the attack. The killer has done exactly what earned him his nickname. He's taken Nina's life. Max seems to believe they've ended up in a real-life version of a game, and he assumes the villain wants to play with them. He suggests they hide. Everyone scatters and hides wherever they can, while the maniac searches the house. As the killer walks past Max, Max tries to attack him with a chair, but the villain's head turns out to be harder than tank armor. Grabbing a piece of the shattered chair, the maniac strikes Max. As he walks into the room, Clover carefully picks up a knife. The killer finds Megan hiding in a closet and methodically, blow after blow, tries to explain to her how unlucky she is. Clover realizes it's her time to act and stabs the maniac in the back. She then runs out of the house. In the forest, Clover sees the silhouette of her sister, but is stopped by a blow to the back. The hourglass flips again, locking them into another cycle of the time loop. The group finds themselves once again in the same spot, but now with partial memories of what happened before. However, this time there are some changes. Their photos have appeared on the missing persons board. Additionally, the lights begin to flicker and the front doors slam shut on their own. They have to barricade them. Megan, who is sensitive to the paranormal, says that everything has gotten worse. Suddenly, she begins convulsing, screaming so loudly that light bulbs explode. The friends, turning on their flashlights, find Megan floating above the floor in the room with the board. Possessed by spirits, she delivers terrifying messages on behalf of the missing. The seance ends with a warning: don't let her in. After that, Megan collapses to the ground. From outside, they hear Melanie screaming. She's begging to be let in. Despite the recent warning, Max opens the door. Clover runs outside, but there's no one there. However, the landscape has changed. Across from the hotel, there now stands an old house with a sign reading Witch. An invisible force pushes Clover toward the house, while the others are locked inside the hotel. A ghostly hand drags the girl inside. Max wants to follow, but Abe and Nina stop him, saying they'd be better off calling for help. After an argument, the friends split up. Clover regains consciousness in a creepy house full of strange busts. She sees a television turned on, in front of which sits an old woman in an oxygen mask. When Clover tries to leave, the old woman rises and says that the only way out of the trap is to survive until dawn. Otherwise, she'll become part of this place. Grabbing Clover, the witch transfers a curse to her through the mask, then crumbles to dust. Meanwhile, Max enters the house. At the same time, Abe and Nina make it to the car. As they drive out into the rain, flashes of lightning reveal a massive creature standing in the road. Abe quickly throws the car into reverse, but behind them, the familiar masked maniac is already waiting. He mercilessly kills the fleeing pair. Max roams the witch's house looking for Clover. On the second floor, he finds a room full of children's toys. In the center stands a rocking chair with a clown doll in it. As soon as he touches it, a possessed Clover appears wearing a mask and kills her former boyfriend. Stepping outside, Clover is struck by a car, driven by the maniac. The time loop resets again, starting the third cycle. After analyzing previous events, the friends decide to barricade all entrances and wait for morning. In the bathroom, Abe quenches his thirst with tap water and passes the glass to the others. Megan notices her hair starting to fall out, and Max sees his fingers begin to deform. They are slowly turning into part of this place. Their discussion is interrupted by Abe. He starts coughing violently and suddenly explodes. Something lands in Nina's mouth. The taste is revolting, and not even champagne can wash it away. She's forced to drink water from the tap, but it's that very water that causes people to explode, so Nina bursts as well. The survivors flee the bathroom. Clover begs Max to restart the cycle. Max replies that there's almost no sand left in the hourglass, that they've nearly reached the end, but Clover insists they still have many tries left. After all, according to the guest book, previous inhabitants endured up to 13 loops. Max wants to harm Clover, but he can't. His hands won't obey him. Disappointed, Clover collapses to the floor. The gas station clerk, Hill, enters the room. He says that surviving by simply doing nothing won't work. Clover leaves this world, and the loop closes again. The friends go down to the basement to examine old newspapers and figure out what they're dealing with. Clover finds documents belonging to Dr. Hill. It turns out he's a psychotherapist who came to the town after a tragedy. Long ago, a mine collapse occurred here, causing the entire settlement to sink underground. That's why the basement now resembles a ground floor, behind whose door lies an underground passage. Max finds a videotape with recordings of Dr. Hill. On it, he can be seen conducting experiments on people, placing them in extreme conditions to transform them into wendigos, mythical creatures from Native American legends. According to Hill, a full transformation requires 13 nights. After watching the tape, Dr. Hill contacts them via radio. He says there's only one way to escape. Someone has to be sacrificed. After finding a map of the town, the friends guess where Hill might be hiding. To lure him out, Clover proposes a meeting, and he agrees, on the condition that she comes alone. Clover heads out to the meeting, while the others argue again. Abe says they must escape immediately, while the rest want to understand everything first. Nina decides to solve the problem radically. She stays with him, while Max and Megan follow Clover. On the way, they pass places where the ground has sunk, remnants of the flooded town. In the forest, they're attacked by a wendigo and are forced to flee. Megan accidentally ends up on the glass roof of a building. Max tries to pull her to safety, but when the creature appears, The roof gives way. They fall down, and the monster drags Megan into the darkness. Max continues on alone. He finds Clover, who has stepped into a bear trap. He tries to free her, but Melanie appears. She has already transformed into a Wendigo. She doesn't recognize her sister. To distract her, Max throws the trap over the creature's head and escapes with Clover. They hide in a shed. Clover asks Max to kill her to restart the timer. Reluctantly, he agrees. Then, mustering his courage, he drinks water from a broken pipe and walks out to face Melanie, who has already escaped the trap, to stop her. When Clover regains consciousness, she learns that Abe is gradually mutating, but the others haven't told him the truth. It turns out they've already spent 13 nights in the hotel, though they only remember 5. Judging by the guest book entries, this is their final attempt. Even the landscape has changed. The town is slowly re-emerging from underground. Megan is also gone. She's nowhere to be found. Abe suspects she was the first to become part of this place. Trying to recall what happened to them, the group watches video recordings on Abe's phone. According to the footage, they've died again and again, from parasites, monsters, curses. In one of the videos, Megan is seen following Dr. Hill into the tunnel. When zombies approach the house, Clover suggests they take the same path. Passing through the tunnel, they enter the underground ruins of the town where the Wendigos reside. Stopping one of the creatures, the young people panic and keep running. They manage to block the entrance with steel shutters, but the familiar masked maniac crashes through the glass ceiling and the group is split up. Clover ends up alone. She keeps moving while the others realize that the maniac is no longer as dangerous. For some reason, he's quickly losing his strength. After a series of blows, they pick up his hammer and finish him off. Meanwhile, Clover nearly impales her head on a sharp object protruding from the ground. She's attacked by her mutated sister, who no longer feels any family bond, but clearly has an appetite. Realizing this, Clover throws her off. Then she hides from the other Wendigos in the dark corridors. Eventually, she reaches an abandoned clinic where traces of Dr. Hill's inhuman experiments remain. There, she finds Megan, still alive but strapped to a chair. Opposite her sits a Wendigo, chained up. Clover sets off in search of keys to rescue her friend. Her search leads her to Dr. Hill's office, a room filled with surveillance monitors and personal files on patients. Among them, she even spots a dossier for one of the characters from the original video game. Just then, Dr. Hill himself enters, holding a cup of coffee. He explains that he has been watching Clover for a long time. After the death of her mother, she sank into a deep depression. Everything that's happening around her is a reflection of her inner psychological struggles, and for each patient, it looks different. As Hill speaks, Clover quietly positions his coffee cup under a drop of water dripping from the ceiling. The water mixes into the coffee. She subtly places the cup back. The doctor doesn't notice the switch, takes a sip, and within a minute, everything changes dramatically. He disappears. Clover picks up the ring of keys and returns to Megan. She arrives just in time. She unlocks the shackles and helps her friend burst through the doors. The girls flee up the stairs while the hourglass counts down the final moments. They break through the ground, literally, like zombies rising from a grave. Just as the Wendigos nearly grab their legs, their friends, who had escaped earlier, appear. They pull the girls out just in time as the last grain of sand falls in the hourglass. Dawn breaks across the sky. The magical veil of rain vanishes, a sign that the trap no longer holds, and they are finally free. Dr. Hill's death was the price of their release. Not wishing to tempt fate any further, the group climbs into the car and drives away from this hospitable place. The camera pans back to Hill's office. The monitors flicker on again, displaying a new hotel in snow-covered mountains. A car pulls up to it. The film ends with a nod to the original game. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.